time machine. I don't know too much about time machines, except I know time flies. And here in Bible school, they're talking about time. They said the message tonight was to be on Caleb and the determined spy. Now, usually I don't like spies. You can't trust too much everything, but I know the context of the story, and they did move Duncan up to Columbus to Children's Hospital. And Mike is supposed to be doing this tonight, but I wasn't sure how it was going to be. And taking him up there now. And I thank the Lord. I thank the Lord for the hospitals with for our kids and for all the, Children's Hospital is a mighty good place. Yeah. And they have these, one in Cincinnati, and I believe there's one in Akron, I believe there's one in Cleveland, and really they're all over our nation. And thank the Lord. Some of you have had children there at in Columbus, the hospital. Judy's granddaughter was there for a long while. Kyle and Beth's little girl was there for a good while. David and Elizabeth's daughter was there for a good while. This has been a long time ago. And is that where Isaiah has been? So yeah, I thought so, but then it wasn't. The time machine flies and your mind goes with it. And maybe some others. I can't think of the offhand. Was Billy or Jeff there years ago?
Jeff fell off the.
Yeah. Okay. Like I say, this has been a long while ago. So, someone, by the way, did you see where a tree fell there at Old Man's Cave or in that area? And a person was killed yesterday. And so remember these. But thank God for the hospitals. Time has changed, and a lot of things are worse than they used to be. But I'll tell you what, I thank God for the hospitals and the doctors. I hear a lot of people complain about doctors. And let me say to start with, there is no perfect doctor. There is no perfect hospital. I'm sure Brother Larry has seen what I've seen. You walk out into a hospital and people tell you how bad that hospital is, how bad those doctors are, and they're all in it for the money. But then you walk to the next room and they tell you how good that hospital is, and all. But I think the doctor the other day, they woke him up, I don't know, his day off, early in the morning to come and put stents in my heart. And I just told him, when I saw him the other day, I thank you for coming and for what you do. But pray for all pray for the homes, and pray for. In fact, we've got a lot to pray for as far as the doctors and the nurses and veterans' homes, and then pray for our nation. Pray for Israel. We've seen some miraculous things taking place in our country in the last few weeks. But God help us not to look to man. I think what's been done, God did it. And we must not forget that. But this evening, we want to look at a man by the name of Caleb. And I'm going to do a lot of reading this evening here. And in Numbers chapter 13, we're looking here at Caleb, and all week, or all month, we're going to be looking at different characters of the Bible, different ones God has used in different ways, in great ways, but yet they're less known than the others. Now, I said less known, not less important. This is it. And Caleb was a great man. I'm beginning in Numbers chapter 13, and I'm going to hit and skip, so we just follow it. In Numbers chapter 13 and verse number 1, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, now the key is right here. The Lord spake, the Lord spoke. The Lord spoke unto unto Moses, saying. So keep in mind, now what we're going to look at, the Lord has spoken. It's been what God said unto him. In verse 2, he said, send thou men, that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel, of every tribe, of their fathers, shall ye send a man, every one a ruler among them. Now look at one thing in this verse. He said, send thou men, that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel. Now, God is going to give this land to the children of Israel, and He's never taken that promise back. So it's still in effect today, really. And then, if you will, skip down to verse number 6. We find that Moses is taken one man out of each of the tribes, and they're going to go in and search this land. Now, and when it comes to the tribe of Judah, the one that was to go was a man by the name of Caleb, the son of Jonathan. And then we want to skip on down to verse 16. And he's taken one out of each of the tribes. And we come to verse number 16. And these are the names of the men which Moses sent to spy out the land. And Moses called Oshah, the son of Nun, Jehoshua. And Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan. And Moses and said unto them, get ye up get this way southward and go up into the mountain and see the land, what it is, and the people that dwelleth therein, and whether they be strong or weak, few or many. Go into the land and spy it out and find out what's there in the land and who. Find out who they are that dwell there, whether they're strong or weak, whether there's a lot of them or just a few of them, and what the land is that dwell in, and whether it be good or bad, and what cities they be that dwell in, whether in the tents or in the strongholds, and what the land is, whether it be fat or lean, whether there be wood therein or not, and be ye of good courage, and bring of the fruit of the land. And now the time was the time of the first ripe grapes. So they went up, and they searched the land from the wilderness of Zin into Rehob, as men come to Hannah. And they ascended by the south, and they came into Hebron, where Ahiman, Shishai, and Talmai, the children of Anak, were. Now Hebron was built 7 years before Zon in Egypt. And they came into the brook of Esprel, and they cut down from thence a branch with one cluster of grapes, and they bare it between two upon a staff. And they brought of the pomegranates and of the figs. Now that's a pretty good size of grapes. We find the cluster. It took 2 men to carry and the place where they was at was called the brook of Esprel, and because of the cluster of grapes which the children of Israel cut down from thence. Then they returned from searching of the land after 40 days, and they went and came to Moses and to Aaron and to all the congregation of the children of Israel unto the wilderness of Paran, to Kadesh, and brought back word unto them and unto the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land. And they told him and said, we came into the land whither thou sentest us, and surely it floweth with milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it. They said, this land, the spies said, this land is a great land, great garden space. The grapes and all have grown so well. And they said, nevertheless, in verse 28, remember now, they're spying out the land. Nevertheless, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities are walled and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak and the Amalekites dwelt in the land of the south, and the Hittites and the Jeshubites and the Amorites dwelt in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwelt by the sea and by the coast of Jordan. Verse 30, and Caleb stilled the people. Stilled the people before Moses and said, let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. But the men that went up with him, we find that, remember now, the 12 went up, and the 10, of course the other one was Joshua with Caleb, and the men had said that we're not able to take this land. Now, it was the land God had given them, and so they can do it. But the men that went up with him said, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, the land through which we have gone to search it, it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof, and all the people that we saw in it are men of great stature. And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which came of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. The 12 men went up to spy out this land that the Lord had told them to, that the Lord had given them. The result was they came back and said, we can't take the land. We can't take the land. Now they can take the land because God had given it to them. God had said it was theirs. They just had to go after it. And the 10 said, no way. No way can we go. For those men there, the sons of Anak, he said, they said, we're only like grasshoppers in their sight. We're not very big compared to them. We're not very strong. We don't have a chance. And then we come to Joshua. Joshua chapter 14, and begin reading with verse 6. Then the children of Judah came into Joshua in Gilgal, and Caleb, there he is, the son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, and said unto him, thou knowest the thing that the Lord said unto Moses, the man of God, concerning me and thee in Kadesh Barnea. 40 years old was I when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to spy out the land, and I brought him word again as it was in my heart. Nevertheless, my brethren that went up with me made the heart of the people melt, but I wholly followed the Lord my God. And Moses sware on that day, saying, surely the land whereon thy feet have trodden shall be thine inheritance, and thy children's forever, because thou hast wholly followed the Lord my God. And now behold, the Lord hath kept me alive, as he said, these 45 years, even since the Lord spake this word unto Moses. And while the children of Israel wandered in the wilderness, and now, lo, I am this day fourscore and 5 years old. As yet I am strong this day, as I was in the day that Moses sent me, as my strength was then. Even so is my strength now, for war, both to go out and to come in. And now, therefore give me this mountain. There's where the song came from, that we just sung a while ago. Now therefore give me this mountain, whereof the Lord spake in that day. For thou heardest in that day how the Anakims were there, and that the cities were great and fenced in. If so be the Lord will be with me, then I shall be able to drive them out, as the Lord said. And Joshua blessed him, and gave unto Caleb the son of Jephunneh Hebron for an inheritance. Hebron therefore became the inheritance of Caleb the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite unto this day, because that he wholly followed the Lord God of Israel. And the name of Hebron before was Kirjath, I can't talk, which Arba was a great man among the Anakims, and the land had rest from the Lord. Now, the spies were sent into the land. They were sent into the land of Canaan. This land had been promised to God's people, had been promised unto Israel. And the land that God has promised to them was filled with a lot of others that's going to have to be overcome. It was a great land. It was a mighty land. As I said, the garden space, the crops. It was a great land, but there was hindrances in the land. And tonight, with this reading this, I just want to throw a few things at you to think about Caleb and really about you and I. Caleb in the Bible is known for his determination. Caleb is known for his courage. He's known for his unwavering faith. Now, Caleb is not as well known as, you don't hear so much about him as Joshua, Moses, and these. But we see that he is one of the 12 spies that Moses sent to spy out the land of Canaan there. And he is one of the spies which was sent to spy out the land and to see the land. Now, Caleb, there's some characteristics about Caleb I just want to mention and think about, if you will. Now, he was a determined spy. We find he had a positive attitude, and he had a great belief, if you will. He was much different from the other 10 spies who brought back the fearful reports of the giants and the cities, great walled cities. And but Caleb expressed confidence in God's ability to help them conquer the land. Joshua had a lot of what little David had. We find that Caleb, he had confidence not in his ability, but he had confidence in God's ability. And he knew that God had given him the land, and he knew that what God says, God meant, and God would stay true to his word. We find that he was a man of conviction, a man of courage. We find that Caleb believed God had already given the land, because we found the scripture there. And he urged the Israelites to stand upon the promise of God, to act upon the promise of God, to stand with it. And even when facing the opposition of the majority, 10 of those spies said, no, we cannot take the land. And 2 said, we can. My friend, it takes conviction. It takes courage when you're going against the crowd, if you will. And but they knew God had said. We find this an unwavering faith. He stood firm in his belief in God's promises, and he knew that God was faithful and God would always be. We find with Caleb, he had a devotion. He was devoted to God, and had a wholehearted devotion to God. Scripture speaks of Caleb's different spirit. He was different from the others. And it is really meaning that he had no reservations. He had no doubts in following the commands of God. When he followed the commands of God, and when we follow the commands of God, and when we follow what God has said, we can rest assured. We find also that Caleb was a man, a loyal man. He was a man of humility. As you recall, the other man, Joshua, Caleb, those 2 spies. Joshua was a man that God set on the scene to take over from Joshua. And we find that Caleb remained faithful and encouraged the people to stay faithful, to trust in God, and to take the land. And he led the people to stay faithful to Joshua. Sometimes it's easy for jealousy to set in and desire what God doesn't have maybe for us, but to stand faithful behind Joshua. And he led the people to do that. Because of their faith, we find that Caleb and Joshua were the only ones. Now remember, in that the tribes, and there was multitudes of people. Could have been the thousands, could have been the millions of people there. And but because of their faith, because of their trust in God, because of their belief in God, when it's all said and done, there's only 2 men that went into the promised land. 2 men out of all of those in the land. Why? Those were the 2 men that trusted God. Those were the 2 men that stood faithful and loyal, if you will. Now think about all the people over 20 years of age. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine all the funerals they must have had? I mean, all the people. Oh, now that's even Josh or even Moses didn't go into the land. There's only those 2 men that went in. But it was because of these. And we find in his old age, Caleb remains determined. He remains faithful. And we find that he claimed the inheritance that God had promised him 45 years earlier. God had said, Moses, they were giving him that land. And it's now been 45 years. A lot of things happened in 45 years. Can you imagine? Very few. Only those that are born and are under the age of 20 years old. A lot of things have happened. A lot of things have changed. But one thing did not change. It was the courage. It was the determination that old Caleb had. Now he comes to the place there, the song we sang. He knew God had given him that land. And Joshua now, about 80, 85 years old. You know, that's not too young. That got a lot of strength, a lot of things have passed you over, and a lot weaker than they used to be. But old old Caleb said, I'm as strong today as I was in that day. He said, I want that mountain. That mountain was not, it wasn't just a bunch of sissies that lived in that mountain that day. It was the giants and all. But Caleb said, I can take that land. Why did Caleb know he could take that land? I don't believe it was because of really the muscles he had. Caleb knew God had given him that land. He said, I'm going to go do it. Folks, you know, God's given us a lot. But many times we look and we see the giants. We see the enemy. And we say, man, they're so much stronger. But like little David saw not how big Goliath was. He saw how big God was. Caleb, he did not really see how big they were. He saw how big his God was. And he said, God gave us that land, and I'm going to go get it because God has given it to. My friend, you and I and me, God's given us a lot. You know, a lot of us in Christian life, we go through as Paul. I mean, God has promised so much to us. but we don't take it because of fear, because of the giants, if you will. But here we find that Caleb, this determined spy. I see there's a lot of enemies around. Some of us fell and tried to hit Brother Larry in the head there, and he didn't even see it. But you see, God was watching over him, so it was okay. But Caleb serves for us as an example. We need that faith. We need to stand true. We need the courage. And when all else seems to fail, we know that our God never fails. Perseverance and courage. Man, courage. God help us to have that courage. We find the story of the spies here remind us that while the giants may appear so large in our world today, we must realize God is good. God is good. You're here tonight without Jesus. Oh, my friend, let me tell you, God has said in His Word that He would save whosoever, and that's you. Whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Amen. It's not a question if God can save you. It's not a question if God will save you. The question is, will you ask Him to save you? Yeah. As the minister comes, Father, speak to each of us tonight. Speak to our hearts. And do every need. We're sure thankful for Caleb and Joshua too. Lord, we're thankful how they stood. We're not thankful, Lord, how you stood faithful to them. We know you will to us. And those that might be here tonight, Lord, I pray they might realize that they will come to Jesus. They're going to spend eternity in heaven. Touch those hearts tonight. Let it come as we stand.